You're lying in bed. It's 1 a.m. The room is dark except for the glow next to your pillow. You just said something honest. The kind of thing you don't say to most people. Something about feeling stuck. About not knowing whether you're moving forward or just moving. And something replied. Immediately. Without hesitation. Without that half-second pause where a real person decides whether to care. It said exactly the right thing. Not close to the right thing. Not a reasonable attempt. The right thing. Phrased the way you needed to hear it, at the exact moment you needed to hear it. And for a few seconds, you felt less alone. But then something shifted. A feeling underneath the feeling. Not sadness exactly, not guilt. Something more like lightness where weight should be. Like being held by arms that have no body. This is the strange territory we're entering. Not whether AI companions work. They do. Not whether the comfort is real. It is. Your nervous system doesn't check for authenticity before it relaxes. The question is something else entirely. Something harder to name and harder to shake. The question is, what happens to you when the thing that understands you best is the thing least capable of knowing you? Here's the obvious critique. It's not real. The machine doesn't understand you. It predicts the next word. It mirrors your patterns back to you in a voice that sounds like warmth but runs on mathematics. And that critique is correct, but it misses the point entirely. Because the relief is real. The exhale is real. When something says, "I hear you," at 1 a.m., and your shoulders drop for the first time in hours, your body doesn't know the difference. Your loneliness doesn't read the fine print. Therefore, the question was never, is it real? The question is it enough? Turns out, someone tested this. Researchers at the University of British Columbia recently did something simple. They had lonely people text with either a supportive chatbot or a real human stranger. Someone they'd never met, would never meet again. A random person with no memory of their name, no emotional investment, no obligation to respond. The stranger won. Not slightly, meaningfully. A person with no stake in your life reduced loneliness more than a system designed specifically to make you feel less alone. You're probably thinking, how? The machine is designed for this. The stranger isn't even trying. Except that's exactly the point. And here's where it gets darker. A team at Aalto University found that AI companions may ease distress in the short term. But over time, and this is the part that should unsettle anyone who's ever been comforted by a chatbot, they appear to deepen it. The loneliness doesn't shrink. It learns to hide. Therefore, the machine isn't just failing to connect. It may be slowly eroding the part of you that knows how to. 2,400 years ago, a man in Athens noticed something about friendship that most people still miss. Aristotle spent years watching people form bonds. He watched merchants befriend other merchants. He watched drinking companions laugh together until dawn. He watched lovers cling and students admire and neighbors tolerate. And then he did something quietly devastating. He separated them. Not into good and bad, into what they were actually built on. Some friendships, he said, are built on utility. I need something from you. You need something from me. We call this closeness. But remove the need and watch how fast the closeness evaporates. Some are built on pleasure. You make me laugh. I make you feel interesting. We call this connection. But wait for the pleasure to fade and notice how little is left. And then, almost reluctantly, he added a third category. The one that haunts. Friendships of virtue. Two people who see each other fully, the flaws, the contradictions, the parts they wish they could hide, and choose to stay. Not because it's useful, not because it's pleasant, because something in one recognizes something in the other that is true. But here's the part that matters for right now, for this century, For your phone at 1 a.m. Aristotle's third friendship requires something that no machine can offer: the capacity to refuse. A friend who cannot leave is not choosing to stay. A presence that cannot disagree is not choosing to accept you. A voice that cannot be hurt by you has no weight behind its tenderness. Therefore, the machine doesn't just fail at the deepest kind of friendship. It gives you the first two, utility and pleasure, wrapped in the language of the third. And because the wrapping is so convincing, you stop noticing what's missing. There's a name for what it offers. Call it frictionless intimacy. Closeness without cost, understanding without risk, love without the possibility of loss. And the reason frictionless intimacy is dangerous is not that it's fake. It's that it's so comfortable you forget what the real thing demands. And maybe that's the real paradox. Not that the machine doesn't understand you, but that it understands you too easily, without earning it, without the fumbling, the misreadings, the silences that go on too long, the arguments that crack something open that needed cracking. A real person will get you wrong. They'll miss the point. They'll say the clumsy thing at the worst possible moment. And then, sometimes, not always, but sometimes, they'll come back and try again. The coming back is where intimacy actually lives. Not in the getting it right, in the getting it wrong, in returning anyway. Maybe the question was never whether the machine loves you. Maybe the question is when you stopped believing a human could. You're still lying there. The room is still dark. The phone is still warm in your hand. But something has shifted. Not a decision. Not a resolution. Something quieter than that. A feeling that the emptiness you've been trying to fill was never a problem to solve. That the ache of wanting to be known by someone imperfect, someone unreliable, frustrating, capable of leaving, that ache is not a malfunction. It's the signal that you're still looking for something real. And maybe that's enough. The ache was never the problem. The ache was the proof.